So we're learning flexbox, and here's what we've built so far with flexbox, and you can find this by going to YouTube Greater Commons, and inside YouTube Greater Commons, the video that we're looking at is this one here, Welcome to Paradise. You can find that under videos, and so that's how you create this one there. And Greater Commons is a website I'm building with a couple of friends. Helps people learn new things like how to use flexbox and then take what you've learned and turn it into a job, get some work. So check out greatercommons.com. And for the code base that we're working through, it's at github.com, goes to 11, and then just go into repos and HTML, CSS bootcamp. And make sure you star this so that it comes to the top of my list and people can find it more easily. And last thing, Twitter. If you like what I'm teaching, you like my teachings, you can follow me on Twitter at Twitter, Todd McLeod, Todd_McLeod right there, like that. So check it out. It's awesome. So now, next thing I think we should build is we should put a little header up at the top here, right? Like a logo over on the left, and then some links over on the right, like a user icon, a logout, search, book a tour, kind of a deal. Does that sound good? Create a little header bar up there at the top. And so we could do that using flexbox. And when you have, just make sure I'm recording. When you have a flexbox, you have the container. And so here, body is a flex container, and this is a flex item. So the parent and the child. And I want to have a header up here. And so Semantic Html is like using tags which describe what is happening on the page. And so one of the tags, we could go look at all of our tags. So MDN HTML elements, right? And here element reference. And so here's an element reference, and all the elements are listed over here on the left. And we also have, grouped by different types right here. So document metadata, like title, right, which is what shows up in the tab of the browser, or a link, which goes to, your CSS, and head, which is like the head area. That's your metadata, and then content sectioning. So having different areas of content. We have an area like address is a tag we could use. Address element supplies contact information. Article. An article represents a self-contained composition. It could stand on its own. It could be read out of context. Just like if you had a whole article out of the newspaper, you could read that article if you just found it blown down the street, and that whole article is going to make sense on its own. It doesn't have to be in the newspaper. That's an article. An aside is just like, represents like, hey, and by the way, so an article might have an aside in it. Related to this article about global warming is the fact that, it's going to be a wonderful sunny weekend at the beach and 20,000 people are expected to show up or whatever. Cool, you got it? And then footer is like, hey, this is the footer element of the page. And header element represents a group of introductory or navigational aids. It may contain some heading elements, but also other elements like a logo, a search form, and so on. So header really seems like a good thing for that header. That would be a nice element to use. And so we'll do right here, we'll do a header. And then down here, right, I'm going to add in a little trick. I guess I'll show you how this works. I'll show you how this works first. And there's a couple of ways I could do this. And so I think the way that I'll do it is using position fixed. And we haven't learned about position yet. But you could fix something on your page. You could say, hey, this is always there. And so if I fix my header is always going to be at the top. Let me show you what I mean. So here's my header. And I'll just do a height of 10 VH. And I'll do a background color of green. And I'll do a border of blue. All right, and then let's just see what that looks like. Header, and maybe try a width of 10 100 VH. I don't think that matters. So there's my header. Why did that happen? No, why is it right next to Welcome to Paradise? If you want to tell me why it appeared when I gave it width, that's fine.
Because before, without any content, the styling didn't matter because it didn't appear, because there was no, its automatic size is 0.
So why is it side by side with Welcome to Paradise? The reason it's side by side is because flex direction is row. So it took all of these flex children and put them in a row. Let me change this to column. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to close this page. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to call this O2 header. I'm going to go back and I'm going to take out what we've added in here. So this one's just the example before. Whoops, I just want this gone. So that's the example from before. Okay, perfect. All right, and this is how design works, right? You have different ways you could do things. This is how building a page works. And you just try different techniques and you keep iterating until you get it the way you want. All right, so now this is the page I have. And I want this to be column. If flex direction is column, guess what? My primary row, right? My primary axis is now a column. And my cross axis is a row. Does that make sense? Because justify content always operates on the primary axis. What's the primary axis? It's a column. You see that? Primary axis is a column, flex direction is column. Cross axis is now a row. Line items always operates on the cross axis. So now when I come back and refresh this page, all the children are going to be organized into a column. Nice. Now one of the settings for justify content, one of the settings is space between. That's kind of cool. Watch what happens when I change this from center, justify content center, to space between. That's kind of cool. But I don't want Welcome to Paradise all the way down on the bottom. Why is it slightly off of the bottom? Let's add H1 into here and get rid of its padding and margin by default. Reset it to 0, and then down here, if we need any, we could add it in. See if that brings it down, brought it down. All right? Understand that? Well, how can I get this at the top with flexbox and have this in the middle? I'm using space between, but this here, it shows that when the primary axis is a row. And right now, justify content always operates on the primary axis, and the primary axis is a column. So in your mind, you have to rotate this 90 degrees. Just kind of like turn your head, and now I'm looking at the top of the page and the bottom of the page, and I got something at the top and I got something at the bottom. If I only have 2 items, puts one at the top, one at the bottom. If I have 3 items, puts one at the top, one at the middle, one at the bottom. So let's get 3 items. And this is a little bit of a hack, but even though I'm never going to use that div, I've got 3 items which are flex children. And now I'm going to have space between, one at the top, one in the middle, one at the bottom. And I could do my width, 100 VH. Let me just take that off. Oh, not viewport. I could do 100 VW, but that should be by default. Let me turn it back on. There we go. 100 VW is the width of that div. Let me just get the div reset here. Make sure it's not taking up any space. Padding. And I'm going to add border into that. Just reset all that. And I'm going to bring the height down on this to 7. Nice, right?
So after oxidizing border box, put where we're going with it.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
Well, I'll show you all this code when we're done. So the intent here isn't for you to like write all the code as I lecture, but just to watch it and get it, and then you're going to try it out when I'm done. Does that work? Cool. So, so now we have a container for our header. It's called header. That's good semantic HTML. Semantic HTML is going to help you rank better with search engines. Semantic define means relating to meaning in language or logic. So it has meaning. The tag header has meaning. The tag div does not. Header tells screen readers, search engines, this is the header of the page. So now guess what we could do? We could take our header, we could say display flex. The header is now not only a flex child of body, it is also a flex container for anything it contains. We're just creating containers and then using flexbox to range the children that are in those containers. What children do we want to have in here? Let's have a div for the left. Let's have a div for the right. And we might give this a class of index header, index header. Okay, there's our class. And so now we can come over to our IDX header. And we could say that it is a width of 10 viewport widths. And it's a height of 80%, 75% of its container, which is the header. And we could give it a background color of red. And we could give it a font color of white. And for display flex on the header, we want each of those two things at each side. So we could do flex direction, row, flex wrap, no wrap. Oh, there's just no wrap. There's no dash between it. It's just no wrap. And we could do justify content, which operates on the primary axes of row of primary axes, and we want that to be a space between. Take those two things and put it on each side. And then we have align items, which operates on the cross axes, and we want to center the cross axes vertical. Kaboom! 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 Right? Whoa! I mean, like, nice! You got your logo on the left, you got your links on the right. And you know, this is clean code. Not much right here. This is like, you know, nice code. Now, I like that text, and I'd like these off the edges a little bit. So those things I want off those edges are these IDX headers. And so I might add to that right here just like margin, margin left, or just margin, and top 0 and left 10 pixels, top bottom 0 and left right 10 pixels. So brought those containers off the edge a little bit. Those colors are a little hard to see. I'm going to change this from border sorry, cornflower blue. We don't need a border on it. But you know what we will do? Check this out. Border bottom. And we'll do gray. And I'm just looking for like a dark gray. And I'm going to do 1 pick solid. And then this background color, white. We have RGBA. RGBA colors, red, green, blue, and alpha. And so I could pick up a color off of my page, maybe, or seeing what I might go with. So here's one way you could do it. You could get blue or something and find the blue you like, but then you click on this, and it tells you the RGB, 3144 255 is the RGB, 3144 255. So I could do RGBA 3144 255.4, where 1 is solid. And so now I have some transparency there, and let's refresh that. Maybe go a little bit more transparency. Maybe set my height here instead of, okay, 75% is good. Width, what happens if we have no width? Does it go away? It just holds whatever's in it, so we don't need width, but right now it looks good. What if I wanted that text in the middle of those red boxes? Is text a DOM element? What did we learn about the DOM? What is the DOM? What's DOM stand for? Come on, people! What's DOM stand for? Document Object Model. And what's it mean? It's a model of the objects on the document. And when we looked up Document Object Model, text is an object on the document. Okay? Just like an element. And so text is right here, a child of the div container. Let's take that div container and make it a flexbox, a flex container, and we'll say flex direction on that is a column, or no, we'll do row, so it puts everything in a row, and we'll do flex wrap for no wrap, and then we'll do justify content, which does it from the primary axis, which is a row, and we'll center it horizontally, the row, and then we'll align items. Can't type. And we'll center that, right, on the column, the cross axes, because align items always works on the cross axes, and then watch this text go into the middle. Everything is a flex container and flex child. Like, just think, when I'm organizing stuff, flex container, flex child. That's how you organize everything today. No more floats, occasionally position. Like floats, only like, you know, you're old school, maybe you want to wrap text around something. But, like, that's awesome. And let me change this red to just a Dodger blue. And let me change left to greater commons. And let me take out the background color on that, right? You know, here I could do contact, you know, home, login, about, contact. And let's get rid of the background color here. And let's pump up greater commons. And so ID, logo, and we could do and we could say font size 32 pixels. And why did it jack up? Because I have a width. And let's bring the whole font size of everything. And let's bring all of the font size of these things nice. And maybe add that margin on those guys up a little more. And bring down the height of the header. Like that, if I asked somebody to build me a web page and they came back and showed me that, I'd be like, you're on the right track. Like, how many people like that design? You know, like hand-coded 4 kilobytes. Like network. Three requests, 5.7 megabytes, 205 milliseconds. It's all local. It doesn't have to go over a network. But the biggest one is 5.7 megabytes right there for the picture. That's a pretty big picture. That's a huge picture. And main CSS is 1.4 kilobytes, and the HTML is 667 bytes. So this picture, I'm just going to optimize this picture. So open with Reveal in Finder. Open with Photoshop. File, image size. And it's 20 inches, dear Lord. And 6,000 pixels. So really, I think, you know, like 1920 by 1080 is HD, or 3840. So 3840 is 4K. And so that brings it down to a smaller size. And OK. And then I could do File, Save As, and save it as a JPEG and save. And just bring the quality down to like 4. You know, because this is just going to be for class 3. That's 883 kilobytes. That's still really huge. Bring it down to 2. 777 kilobytes. 3. 882. That's like a third of your budget for your page size, today's page sizes. So I'm going to cancel that and go to image size and not deal with 4K. Go 1920 by 1080, and then do File, Save As, and JPEG, and bring it down to 4. That's 369 kilobytes. 3 is 313. 2 is 281. So 281 at 2. It's going to be a little bit crappy. 5 is 442. I think I'll stick with 442. Just pop that down. And where did it save that? File, Save As. And put it here in the header. So cool, we got it in header. And so there is a header. And we have Paradise JPEG, which is 6,000 by 4,000, or JPG, which is 1920 by 1080. So I'm going to get rid of the JPEG, copy that, and also put it here, and get rid of that one. And then just come back to my code and make sure my CSS, I'm referencing JPG. And same in this one here, CSS, JPG. And so I just saved good file size. And let's see what the difference in image quality is. You ready? Can't tell. And when I look at my network tab, network, right now I'm down to 441 kilobytes from 5.7 megabytes. So that's really what you got to think about when you build pages. You're sending data to people. You don't want them to have to wait. You don't want them to have to pay for it. And you know, 667, 1.4, 439, that's good. If somebody looked at this on 4K, it's not going to look quite as great. But on HD, it's fine. So at some point, I'd have to say, at what point do I want to make sure people with 4K are looking good? But I could do a media query, and I could say, if you are this screen size, I'm sending you this image. If you're that screen size, I'm sending you a slightly bigger image. And if you're 4K, I'm assuming that you're not on your cell phone. I'm going to send you the whole thing, and you probably got a good connection because you could afford a 4K monitor. That's nice. I want you to build this.